and I'm about to explain what that special event is. And the instigator and presenter and star, really, of that event is a man named Michael Filby. I don't know if you've heard his name. You should have. Michael, a very good morning to you.
Thank you for inviting me here today.
It's a great pleasure. Now, you are a bit of a local hero. Michael is the person responsible for cleaning up our highways between here and, how far do you go, Michael? Manjimup. That's quite a distance.
Yes, it is, especially in the early morning.
You've been doing this for a long time now. What got you started on cleaning up? This is an extraordinary volunteer thing. What got you started?
I think because I'm a landscape photographer by nature, and any photographer does, an artist, objects to litter. Wherever I went to places in Australia where no man had ever been. And once I removed the bottles and the tins, I could then photograph it. So it's a sad comment on us, but I'm afraid that is the truth.
You've been involved with Keep Australia Beautiful. That's been going for a long, long time now. How did that get started? How did Keep Australia Beautiful get started?
Beautiful question. Dame Phyllis Frost, not Dame Edna Everage, Dame Phyllis Frost in 1960 was driving her lovely new Toyota saloon along the Calder Highway, I think it was, in Victoria. And a truck driver very conveniently threw out bottles and things out of his window onto her new car. She was so aghast, she was quite a character. She pulled off the highway to assess the damage to her paint. Unfortunately, she saw so much litter beside the road that she forgot about her own interests and got on to Balti, who was the Premier of Victoria at the time. And she said, "Balti," it's reported, "we've got to do something about litter." He thought she said liquor, and knowing her background, she's quite a girl, he imagined, well, gangster-type scenario in Melbourne. So from that was the beginning of Keep Australia Beautiful. It started with roadside litter. It's expanded to go into sustainable communities. But basically, litter is the founding cause for Keep Australia Beautiful.
And Dame Phyllis Frost is probably one of the few people who could have taken on Henry Balti and got him to do something, I have to say. And won. Yes, that's quite something. Why did you start this extraordinary thing of collecting litter between Denmark and Manjimup? What got you
Because
going?
I actually produced publications facing south, books like this on the beauty of the area, including Denmark were behind the Walpole wilderness. It's only a name. It's environmental people from this whole region. And when I came down, I just noticed that the highway was, I hate to say it, but third world in its standard. And I realized however much we protected the wilderness itself, if you had a highway that was covered in litter, you've got a problem, because it forms the initial and final impact that a tourist actually has, the impression. And if you've got bottles, tins, nappies, tissues, that is not the image you're trying to project.
So you saw all this, but what got you actually started on this marathon that you've been on for the last 18 years? What got you started?
Obsessive compulsive disorder, no doubt. I think so too. I love the environment. I'm more aesthetic than practical. So I just didn't like the sight of rotting tissues. Yes, they're biodegradable. Nappies are biodegradable, but it's a very bad image to project to the world when you've got a World Heritage possibility.
So 18 years ago, how did you get started?
It was actually the manager of the tourist bureau in Walpole was so ashamed of the state of the highway just between Walpole and Nornalup, 7 kilometres, and asked me would I accompany him one weekend and tried, and we had Sulo bins, government papers, massive amount of litter. So that's how it started. Then I realised I had the time, I was retired. I could do it on my own if I had a system, and that's how it began.
Is no one actually responsible for clearing the litter along our roads?
Oh, are there any politicians listening? I've got
That's all right. Get stuck in.
It falls under Main Roads jurisdiction.
Okay.
That was my first question. I actually leased a property from people from CALM, Conservation and Land Management, and said, who is responsible? The same question you're asking. And they said, well, Mike, we're not. We stopped 22 metres away from the centre line, and it's not local government. And well, where is Main Roads? And they said, well, Bunbury and Albany. And, of course, we're at the end of 2 jurisdictions. So
22 metres from what? Bins or something
from
like that?
From the side of the road, when it is actually the Main Roads Authority.
So does anyone else do that apart from you? No. So Main Roads does a little bit of litter clearing, But anyone else?
Yes, there have been. There have been. But I was behind the Adopt a Spot program. I preceded it by 4 years. I didn't actually implement it, but my method was taken on by a gentleman called Mel Hay. He was the Assistant Commissioner of Police, head of KAB at the time, and he loved this kind of authoritarian way of taking responsibility. And I actually have a legal adoption of the entire highway. How strong it is in a court of law, I wouldn't like to say.
I love that. What's your system then? You talk about this system. What is it?
Initially, I could park. When we did this job from Nornell to Walpole, first this gentleman drove from Nornell to Walpole, picked me up. We drove them back to Nornell. Then we walked parallel back to Walpole. Then I drove him back to Nornell, and then I back to Walpole. This was not good enough, so I worked out that if I parked my vehicle, I could walk 3 kilometres away from the vehicle and 3 kilometres back, thereby obviating the need to move the vehicle. This progressed, and then I found that if I checked the road within 7 to 14 days by vehicle, I could maintain it. And that was the start of the Adopt a Spot ethos, that you kept it clean. This once-a-year cleaning is fabulous, but it does not solve the problem. And when I got about 35 kilometres out, another eccentric from Walpole called John Colo, he came with me. And we both went 3 kilometres in different directions from the car. And before you knew where we are, we'd reached 70 kilometres north. We came over towards Denmark. We actually made it to the Hay River at one stage. So, we've actually gone a long distance.
How far do you reckon you've walked in the 18 years that you've been doing this work?
With the arthritic hip and the knee. By vehicle, I've done 3 circumnavigations of the Earth, the equivalent of, at an average speed of 23 kilometres an hour.
Approximately.
Thank you. Oh, no, exactly.
Exactly. I was teasing you, actually.
Thank you.
I could tell you meant that was
you.
exactly it. How much litter do you reckon you've picked up over time?
Well, again, I haven't, because our aim is not to pick up litter. I would aim to drive from Walpole up to Manjimup and for 1 bottle. And that would be successful, not a waste of money. Mm-hmm. So that's a change in thinking, not how many. I know Collie tried to emulate my 100 kilometres at one stage, and they got 2,500 bags. I would get 6 bags. So the aim is no litter. So I came here this morning. I picked up 3 bottles between here and Walpole. That's successful, not a waste of money.
Okay, and I understand that philosophy. I understand that. But when you started, was it like that?
Massive. Mm. There are places close to Broke Inlet. Camfield is a little settlement near Broke Inlet, about 25 kilometres north of Walpole. And I remember with my partner, she and I worked, and we moved 1,500 bottles from an acre of land, and the next day over 2,000. Caused a lot of problems because the bottles came from national park land now, and I placed it in Main Roads jurisdiction, who then said it's not their problem, it's the Deep or Calm, as they were. So I have caused a lot of problems, and I am a problem to the government.
Good on you, is all I can say. So what happens, what do you think happens in people's heads that it's okay just to chuck stuff out?
Amazing question, because I'm a litter reporter with Keepers. I have the legal power, as many do, to actually, but I've almost never seen or witnessed actual littering. It's there, it's epidemic. What causes it? Lack of education. I look at places like Walpole and Denmark, I include both. Their education system is magnificent. The volunteers here in this radio station, the volunteers in all these areas are magnificent, and the education of the children. There's actually a cartoon book come out by a gentleman called Nathan Vasvini. It's going to all schools, all relate. So nobody leaves Walpole Primary School, let alone Denmark, and can litter. They just can't do it. So that is the future. Denmark was an environmental award winner with Keep Australia Beautiful, 1996, I believe. Walpole again later on. But we're twins here. We're on the same journey. The Walpole Wilderness is just a name. The Denmark Action Group, we groups, they correspond. I come over here, they come over there. We're like-minded people. It's the environment that we're selling. It is rare in the world. At a time of carbon capture and global warming, of course, yes, and plastic pollution, we are unique and we are extremely valuable.
One of the things that you talk about is the power of one. Yes. What do you mean?
Well, I'm talking to one over here now. Hello, sir. The power of one, that if we take responsibility for any deed, like the gentleman with fire protection, yourselves, myself, it is the power of one, them becoming a group, and then it expands. But it starts with the power of one. If we're reliant on the hierarchy down, I think not. It comes from the power of one, all of us, any motive.
Now, Michael Filby, you're about to retire from your extraordinary act of volunteering. What happens then to our road
And that's
signs?
why we're having this meeting. We're presenting this petition. It's early days yet. We've got 2 months. It's being presented in the upper house.
So is the petition asking?
It's just asking that the government discuss the situation of the hygiene of the number one highway bisecting the Walpole wilderness and beyond, that they just discuss it. There are legal implications. The fact that I can do it as an individual, main roads I passed the other day up near Bustleton, they had a truck, they had 2 utility vehicles, about 6 gentlemen standing around, 2 sides, and there were 2 of them with sticks picking up litter. I understand that they're constrained by WorkSafe, but I've proved in 18 years that one person, the power of one, can do this. I'm an old crippled gentleman with a metal hip and a knee that's gone. So, if I can do it, the public can do this. The ideal way would be for a benefactor. Have we got any? Let me think. Twiggy Forrest, Gina Reinhardt. They could answer, they could solve this, they could hire me, but not me, but someone like me, as an environmental consultant and give me a nice salary of $100,000 a year, and I would write them a lovely letter. In the meantime, I pick up litter as an individual person, thereby getting that my safety is my concern, not theirs.
So how do you do it these days? Do you actually, you're saying the idea is that you don't have to pick up litter.
Yes.
But are you physically, is it a physically taxing thing that you do?
Any fit man or woman or any other gender in between could definitely do it. I've had a broken back in my past. I've got an artificial hip. I've got a knee to be replaced. I can still do it. I actually do it at 2:00 in the morning.
What? There is no 2:00 in the morning.
Unfortunately, there is.
Normal people sleep through it.
When you said how much longer am I going, every journey could be the last.
So why do you do that? Why do you get up at 2:00 in the morning?
Because of safety.
Yeah.
This is something that the government can't do by their legislation, but I can do it at night under spotlight. There's very little traffic on the road, and I would get 95% of all litter. Anything I miss, I would get on the way back when there is daylight. So it's a system that has worked, but I am a maverick, obviously. The government couldn't do it the same way.
So, Michael, where can people sign your petition?
Well, I think at this, we will be put let me think. The CRC in Denmark,
the
radio
CRC
station.
in Walpole?
Yeah, the CRC in Walpole. Also, places like the pharmacy, banks. It will be a Green Skills. We'll have it everywhere.
Okay.
It's just being formulated at the moment. So we've got 2 months to sign it before Parliament reassembles in February. So we've got time on our hands.
Couple of months to get. How many signatures would you like, and what do you hope that this petition will do?
I think it's legal at 3, and 3,000 would be marvellous.
30,000 would be even better, don't you think?
Oh, in my dreams, I'd love it.
Okay, that's going to be our target, 30,000 signatures. What do you hope out of this?
That it puts pressure on the government to talk about this. They know about me very well. They've given me many awards. And I ring them up now and say, you haven't given me an award for the last 12 years. And they say, well, you've got them all.
What's wrong with you?
You've got them all. Yeah. I said, well, hang on, we want something different. What about a sainthood? Perhaps insanity? Maybe they're linked.
There is a theory that that's true.
I can't defend that.
So the aim is to put pressure on the government to actually do something about finding a way to keep our area clean.
It might also get some response from benefactors. It might get people outside the box thinking about this. I mean, a supermarket could of its own put a litter levy on, 0.3, 0.5% at turnover, and they themselves run the event. So, there are ways of thinking outside the box.
What's been the most satisfying thing for you out of this last 18 years?
I think the recognition that the problem is gaining. that the public... I mean, we used to have smoking and I apologise to all smokers, but that has actually improved. Over this period of time, there's a distinct reduction. In regards to litter, beer bottles, yes. Wine bottles, no. Wine bottles with only 1% or less of the litter situation. So I've seen improvements in behaviour, but there's still a long way to go.
Michael Filby, I think you have been amazing. Thank you so much for what you've done over the last 18 years. Goodness me, we're going to miss your activities on the highways. And the event, the Main Roads Cleaned Up Its Act, a presentation by you is on at the Walpole Community Hall on the 30th of November at 5:30. And we'll aim for a minimum of 3,000 signatures, shall we, Michael, on your petition?
Bless your heart.
And we'll hope for the 30,000, shall we?
Absolutely. Bless you for your support.
And congratulations on all that you've done and all that you do.
Thank you, Sue.
It's a great pleasure meeting you. It's 6 minutes to 9.